Hi, and welcome to the 3-Minute Stop, where we answer all your scuba questions in 3 minutes or less. Today's question comes from Enriched, and he wants to know, what is nitrox? And that's a fantastic question, because nitrox is actually one of the most popular specialty certifications that most divers get after they go through their initial open water training. And what nitrox is it is a gas mix that allows us to increase our NDLs. Now, what's an NDL, you might be asking? Check out the comment section for a link below. We already answered that question. But let's get back to nitrox. So what nitrox is it's any mix of oxygen and nitrogen where the oxygen content is somewhere between above 21% up to 40%. And how does that increase our NDLs? Well, we know that our body does not metabolize nitrogen. And so that's a problem when we go under pressure and we're breathing that gas, because that nitrogen diffuses into our cells. So what if I were to say, what if we reduce some of the nitrogen in that gas mix with an element we do use, like oxygen? So what we can do is we can add a little bit of extra oxygen into the mix to offset some of the nitrogen, which allows us to stay down longer, because all of the oxygen we consume, our body can metabolize and actually turn into CO2 and release it back into the air. Now, that doesn't mean that you can just go out and start breathing nitrox. You need specialized training. And the reason for that is because oxygen is our best friend and our worst enemy. A lot of people think that nitrox at the surface, when you ask the layperson, they're going to say, oh, it lets you dive deeper. And that is absolutely not the case. It actually limits how deep we can go. Because if you breathe too high of a concentration of oxygen at too high of a pressure, it can cause what's called a CNS toxicity event, or specifically a seizure, which is really bad underwater. So you have to have the specialized training to know how to dive it, but it's incredibly safe. In fact, a lot of agencies are even opening up that during your open water training. And it's a really fantastic certification to have, because a lot of places like Bonaire, for example, most of the dive operators there will offer nitrox free or no charge. So why not take advantage of that? So there you have it. Nitrox is any blend of air and nitrogen that is somewhere above 21% all the way up to 40% at the recreational level. Now, actually, technical divers almost exclusively dive some version of nitrox or trimix, meaning that we'll vary the blends of oxygen and sometimes the helium, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, leave us your questions in the comment section and we'll answer them in 3 minutes or less.